Hmm. Uh, huh?
You're listening to Cryptid Clues, featuring your hosts, Taylor Field and Reuben Olson.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Clues. I am your host, Taylor, and today we're going to be diving into the stairs in the woods. This is a topic that was mentioned to me, and I dove into it and found a strong, mysterious component attached to these things. So I thought this is a great topic of discussion for the show today. And we'll get right into it after a couple of plugs, though. You can find us on our website, CryptidClues.ca. We have blog access there. You can just learn a little bit more information about the show. And you can also find us on our social media channels, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Additionally, we're also available on Patreon, where you can get ad-free early episodes and some Patreon exclusive episodes. Massive shout outs, though, because again, we had it first with March, but April has just become our biggest month yet. And I can't stop saying it. Thank you to everyone that is listening to this show and helping us hit these new points. It's just fantastic. I never thought we would come to this point where me and Reuben were not researchers, like out exploring all the scientific data in our labs or anything like that. We're not that. We are two humble Canadians that find these topics and do our best to condense the information together in a presentable format for you guys and for our own benefit as well, just so that we can learn more about these fascinating things and somehow find the impossible truth, I guess, that is out there. But again, thank you so much for being there and supporting the show. It means a lot. We just hit our 50th episode the other day. Again, it's just all thanks to you guys. So we're going to keep on adding more to the Patreon just to kind of add more. And we got a lot more planned as well. Shows, content, interviews, encounters, a lot more in the works. So definitely want to stay tuned. On top of that, though, you can send us an email if you like, cryptidclues@gmail.com. If you want to say hi, send in any questions, we're there and we're ready to answer. But now that that's all done, let's get into the main topic. Stairs in the woods. So it's exactly that. And I'm going to paint this mental picture here for you. You're out hiking in the woods. You stumble upon a staircase that perhaps goes up not one, but maybe two or even three flights. Again, this is in complete dense brush in the middle of the woods. There's maybe components of a former structure, and that's okay. We'll speak to more of that, but there is absolute credibility, again, that a fair share of these stairs were attributed to that being a structure that once stood there or a house or something like that. But what about the ones that aren't? And I mean the stairs that you should never climb because they were never built intentionally for human-made structure, but something beyond that. So if you've been listening to this show so far, you know I have it out for national parks. Something strange is going on out there. And what a surprise. These stairs seem to appear prominently in, you guessed it, national parks. Now, some people say that they spot these stairs as far as 60 kilometers deep into the woods. That's almost 40 miles. That's incredible. That's definitely not on an outskirt of a town or anything like that. That is in the bush. There is actually an individual who volunteers with Search and Rescue who came forward and stated that, and I quote, "I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit," SAR standing Search and Rescue, "but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest." I asked about it for the first time I saw some, and the other officers just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. And I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very empathetically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. End quote. So now, this has kickstarted a community of individuals coming forward and realizing, hey, I'm not the only one seeing these things out in the woods. So is this an elaborate hoax worldwide? Surely someone would catch a construction crew or a small group of folks creating these things. And I could defer to an example of the monoliths, which I'm sure if you are immersed into this world, you have heard of the monoliths that appeared, one in Utah and then prominently afterwards in different parts of the world. These are things that were mysteriously placed and were not placed right away. I believe the one in Utah was found to have been placed a few years ago, but they were removed as quickly as they were placed because they didn't want people to go off and exploring these areas, which is totally understandable. You don't want people to get hurt or lost in these parts of the world. But from my research, some of the monoliths appeared to be man-made and had a component of that attached to them. But then there's some that genuinely are inexplainable and have no idea how they appeared. I think that one in Utah, that area was really only accessible by helicopter and by foot and vehicle, very dangerously, and it'd be tough, but doable. So I think that's a good comparison to these stairs. Is this an elaborate hoax, or is there something going on here? Now let's narrow down specifically where some of these stairs have been found, though. West Virginia, Michigan, Montana, Detroit, New England, New Hampshire. These are locations where not just stairs have been found, like I said, but other mysterious things, particularly Michigan. There are unknown components that are attached in cryptid sightings and paranormal, UFO. And I think that's fascinating that, lo and behold, now we have mysteriously appearing stairs added to this mix. That's, again, just to name a few in America. These have also appeared in Germany, Norway, Brazil, Portugal, and even the Philippines. So we're not exclusively to one country here that this unfolds. This is a worldwide phenomenon. You can also find photos of all these stairs posted online. They'll often appear to be made of stone, brick, iron, or wood, and they're all in different states of decomposition. Some very intricately and others very baseline. What I mean by that is when you look at some of these stairs, some could be a spiral going up and some could be your average, a parkade set of stairs going up and down, essentially. And again, if we go back a few hundred years, prospectors were all over this continent, and stairs could be a result of a naturally reclaimed structure that's conformed back into the terrain, leaving only stairs behind. As we know, concrete does last a very long time. But how do you explain stairs that move? So let's go into the 1940s. We had a lot of UFO content hitting the media. Prominently the famous Roswell crash in New Mexico. There were some stories attached to this time where a specialist who was researching the infectious disease in case of animal mutilation after the Roswell crash in the 40s learned of this vanishing staircase in the woods. They settled their camp near this random staircase in the forest, where they spent a whole day and night, basically. Now, however, the next morning when they woke up, the staircase was not there. Instead, there was a black burnt spot at that place, and they found the exact same staircase 50 meters away from the spot and were shocked about how it moved there. Therefore, they decided to research them. The wood of the stair was harder and stronger than any wood available in the world, and it wasn't even scratchable. The staircase moved 50 to 60 meters every other night, leaving this burnt spot. And after a week or so, it completely vanished. So this is one of the most prominent accounts that I was able to dig up of moving staircases. Again, I've seen other people mention that these things are moving, but it was very devoid of specific detail. This was the most in-depth one that I could find associated, and funnily enough, in connection with the Roswell crash in the 40s. And we know that there was a lot going on around UFO phenomena around that time period. So I just thought this was fascinating, and I had to share that. Now, I mentioned the Philippines earlier, and I do have one such story coming out of there, including a forest ranger. Before I get to that, I'm just going to jump to a quick ad break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. So like I said, we have this forest ranger in the Philippines, and basically he was fired after having been gone for 5 years. Supposedly, he came into contact with a set of these stairs and investigated them. Once he was done his 8-hour shift of patrolling, he headed back to the ranger station. He apparently encountered a very aggressive dog that chased him back a bit, and finally when he returned, it was disclosed that he had lost his job because, well, he was gone for 5 years. Hence the conversation of portals or even abduction being associated with this. And on that note of portals, we can look at another Forest Ranger's claim, where this individual climbed a set of these stairs quickly, reached out to grab a branch, and all of a sudden had their hand severed off in one clean cut. The hand was never found. Something like this could again be attributed to the body staying on this end of the spectrum, while the hand teleports to another realm or point of origin when a possible open portal closed off. Again, that's my own kind of rationalization of this outcome. However, we can also add devil worshipping to the list of possibilities. There's sometimes graves discovered nearby, which again may attach this paranormal component to this, not to mention the vibes people get when they get closer to these stairs. Usually described as anguishing or oppression, but mostly a sense of, I don't belong here whatsoever. This is, again, the devil demonic aspect to this is something that seems to be reoccurring, where people could do seances or something like that. But another component to back the unholy aspect of these things is we have a claim of a woman who climbed up a set of these stairs and returned saying something is wrong with me. She collapsed. At what point this took place after investigating these stairs is unclear to me, but rangers found her nonetheless at this time and recalled how blood was leaking inside her eyes before she had died. Doctors later on said her death was attributed to being a fatal aneurysm. For those whom are unaware, an aneurysm is basically bleeding in your brain, and sometimes it can cause a stroke resulting in brain damage, which can then be fatal. And again, these are all claims that I found doing my own research. We cannot confirm they are at all 100% accurate or real, but we can pick apart components of these claims and decipher the similarities between them and bridge any potential possibilities. Those possibilities bring us back to primarily, in my personal opinion, portals. What I love about portals is that it's such a broad term that can cover interdimensional, alien, planetoid travel, like Stargate, for example, or even to hell or other unnatural planes of existence through demonic or paranormal means. Now, we know this planet has higher points of energy and access, and I defer to Skinwalker Ranch, a site of prominent unknown activity that has many interested parties, including the government, focused on it. And I'm not saying it's true, but these sites are also attributed to an increase of paranormal Bigfoot and even Dogman sightings. We've heard of the predator effect of Bigfoot, where they can cloak, and in our last interview episode with Ron Moorhead, he spoke to the quantum realm and what connections that has to Bigfoot. What if at one point humanity had this ability to jump in and out of these realms using areas that these stairs are placed? Or could it possibly be as simple as, let's say, a landing platform that's been succumbed back to forest and nature, but was originally designed for a spacecraft to land? There's so many of these different possibilities, but getting back to portals, we know they exist. Now, one type of portal I'm going to talk about here, this is one that I did a little bit more scientific research into because I just thought this was an interesting kind of hypothesis that I can relate to our topic at hand here, which I'll talk to later on. But sometimes these are referred to as X points when it comes to up in space. There are places where the magnetic field of the Earth connects to the magnetic field of the sun, which creates an uninterrupted path leading from our own planet to the sun's atmosphere. Again, that's roughly 93 million miles away. NASA satellites can confirm that dozens of these portals open and close each day. However, these are usually located a few tens of thousands of kilometers away from Earth. Now, I'm not saying people can per se travel in these portals. At this point, science only confirms that it's just particles, solar wind coming through. It's nothing like a legitimate wormhole that you're kind of moving a whole spacecraft through. But these solar winds and these particles that do come through help keep the Earth's atmosphere in check and sometimes put on geomagnetic storms and help launching polar auroras. Magnetic portals, however, are invisible, unstable, and elusive, opening and closing without warning. Again, these are not your standard portals you would see in a show or a movie, but it's a proven example, and I dare say an interesting bridge to form this hypothesis of how portals on our own planet could very well work. However, that's my own dangerous, and I dare say, blasphemous kind of thinking. It has no credibility whatsoever. But again, when it comes to stairs in the woods, many people have walked up them with absolutely no result or any cause of concern that something unearthly is happening. And for whatever the reason is, I wouldn't know. But what I do know is that you should indeed find a set of stairs in the woods, exercise caution, and be safe. Because this very well could be that one set of stairs that is a portal and goes off to another dimension or realm or plane of existence. We just don't know. And like I said, some of these individuals that bump into a thing like this will disappear and come back in similar circumstance to an alien abduction. It's just one of those things that will forever probably be an unknown mystery because there is limited knowledge on this. And where do you go with something like this as a topic? It's something that seems like these people don't have any recollection of what would have really happened. Like this, for example, the Ranger, 5 years gone, to him was minutes. Was this an illusion that was played for him during an abduction? Or did he truly step out of our realm into another realm, which was for only minutes to him, and then re-enter at another opening, which was years for us? That is a concept that was played in and represented in many films as well, like Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg, where you have that solar storm and the two ships, basically, you go in first, you come in at a different point in time as the ship that comes in after, coming in at a different point of time again. And maybe that's an example of it here. There's a fascinating amount of information pulled from movies, and I think most people, they watch the movies, think, oh, it's a fun story and narrative, but don't just limit your thoughts there. Use this movie that you watch that tackles a topic like this and let it kind of boost your mind up into thinking more what if possibilities and how this concept could be attributed to this component. And that's how I try to treat stairs in the woods. You can look at it as, okay, you find a set of stairs in the woods in this national park and that's it. That's where it ends. Or you can look more into how portals work, and maybe there is some kind of hypothetical bridge that we could connect to this component. And that's often what I feel like with Ron Moorhead, how you have Bigfoot that can cloak and people wondering, how does it do that? Well, he has bridged this component of the quantum realm together with Bigfoot, forming this whole new field of research that allows people to connect and dive into and explore. And I think that's what we got to keep doing, because wherever that research stops with something like stairs in the woods, it doesn't truly stop. Somewhere in our history, somewhere in all of our research, you can find other components that can be attributed to it. So I'm hoping I'm making sense. That's at least how I'm tackling these things, the more I learn with Reuben, because as we continue on, it's incredible how intertwined and connected these things are. Especially those hot points, like I mentioned with Skinwalker Ranch, which me and Reuben did an episode on. A lot of these hot points and these sites for immense energized activity or cryptid sightings often include the orbs and the balls of light, which is another thing that I've done an episode on as well. So these things keep appearing to be connected, and I'm going to keep digging into the stairs that lead to nowhere out in the middle of the woods, because if there is more so a cryptid connection, you could say, okay, there's usually undiscovered graves that are found nearby. And what is usually connected with graves? Well, dogman, paranormal, ghosts. There's, again, examples. And you just got to find these little examples and connect the dots. And then you see the bigger picture. So hopefully I'm not sounding preachy. I don't want to sound that way at all. This is just my perspective and just kind of what I've explored and what I've kind of narrowed down and found. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. That is all I got. Again, do the research. You can find these photos of these stairs on Google, just online, anywhere. It's a truly fascinating and terrifying thing. So I'm so super happy I got to talk and speak to it and do some research into this. So hopefully you continue the research on your own end, as I will, and I'll be telling Reuben to dig into this too. But definitely stay tuned, because we're going to be doing a lot more content coming in the future here. Me and Reuben want to get a little bit more into some additional cryptids that have been popping on our radar from North America. And not only that, some more interviews, more encounters, like I mentioned before. We really want to dive headfirst into this community and just really get more perspectives put on the show for you guys to listen and enjoy. So you're not just bombarded with my point of view or Reuben's sole point of view. But anyways, enough of that. Thank you again for listening. And you can find us on our website, CryptidClues.ca. You can find our blog access there. And we're also available on social media channels, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and our Patreon. You can get ad-free exclusive early episodes. And if you ever want to say hi or send us a question, just see what's what, you can send us an email, cryptidclues@gmail.com. But until next time, we'll see you soon and stay safe.